Namaste. The topic we'll discuss right now is Karma Yoga and whether it's proper to replace this with a translated term path of action. Can we say that Karma Yoga can be translated as path of action, or is there some difference? So, Dr. Das, please tell us, Karma Yoga often translated as path of action. What do you think of that?
First we have to understand what is Karma Yoga, and then it will become clear whether it is proper translation or not. So Karma Yoga is a very specific process, and the goal is that we want to uplift ourselves. Every human being is born with some specific prakriti. We have some innate nature, we are born with that, and because of that prakriti, because of that nature, innate nature, we have certain proclivities. We have certain tendencies. Some people are more introverts, some people are more extroverts, some people like, intellectualism, some people like to be do business, make money. So this innate prakriti is there in us. How to use that? You cannot get rid of it. You are born with it. So there are two ways. That one is that you can remain under the influence of this prakriti and work, and then you are bound by your actions, because every action has certain result which is binding in the sense that it is going to again bring you in a specific situation and you have to act again and again. So the process of Karma Yoga is that using my inborn innate prakriti, how I can uplift myself and actually become liberated from it.
From this cause-effect cycle.
Right. So this is something very interesting, that the very thing which is binding me, I can utilize that
to get out of it. Now this is very interesting. So just to make sure I'm understanding it, tell me if I'm right or wrong. So there's ordinary actions. I'm playing tennis, I'm driving a car, I'm doing business. These are all actions. And under karma theory, they all have reactions. There's a cause effect. So there is a causation. I'm in the web, in the network of causation. Everything I do will have some reaction. And then I'll do something else, react to it, and there'll be another action. So another reaction. This will continue. So that's the path of action. That is the path of action. Which means in ordinary life, we are following a path. And hopefully we are doing good deeds, but even good deeds have a phala, binding effect.
Which means
so
suffering.
Path of action could be, you choose a good path of action versus a bad path of action, and so on. But Karma Yoga is something different.
Right.
Karma Yoga, it's not just ordinary karma, but Karma Yoga with the word yoga added is doing those things in such a prescribed way that you actually get out of this cause-effect cycle.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah, therefore Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Karmana hi sansiddhi asthita janakade. That great kings like Janaka, everybody has heard the name of Janaka, they became perfected just by following Karma Yoga. The same karma which is actually keeping us bound here can be like a springboard for us to get out of it. Amayascha bhutanam jayate yena suvrataha. The same thing which gives me disease, like food. Food can give me disease, and food can also be a medicine.
Right.
This is how Ayurveda works. That's
right.
why it prescribes. So karma is like a disease, because it's making me suffer and bondage. But it can also be used as a medicine to become free from that.
So every action I take is putting me into this bondage of reaction, cause effect, and yet within this cause effect system there is a prescribed path of Karma Yoga, right, which will get me out of this.
Yes. Therefore Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he talks a lot about this Karma Yoga, especially because he is speaking to Arjuna, who is worldly person. So as we spoke in one of the episode about Jnana Yoga, that is a path of renunciation. You have to renounce things, and this is path where you don't have to renounce. You can remain situated wherever you are, and yet you perform activities bringing the absolute reality, God, Bhagavan into picture, and perform actions for as an offering to him. As Krishna says, Yat karosi yadasnasi yat juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi konte tat kurushva madarpanam. So here the trick is that you perform an action and then make that action as an offering to Bhagavan. So you don't have to give up your business, but make that business as an offering.
Everything you're doing is for Bhagavan.
Right, as an offering to him. So when you do that, then you don't get the bad reaction of that activity which you are performing.
Now, this is where the ego plays a trick also.
Right.
The ego says, I'll do all this offering hoping for a better result.
Right.
Yeah, that the ego can also play that trick. That I'm going to do some puja so that my investment is more successful. That's not the same thing.
No, that is called sakam karma.
That is also sakam karma.
Yeah. So karma, when we talk about karma yoga, we actually are talking about niskama karma.
Nishkam.
Means we perform karma without attachment to the result. And that's why it says karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Very famous sloka. Most Indians know about
Right.
it. That you perform your karma as a duty for the sake of duty and don't be attached to the result. Sukhe dukhe samay kritva labha labhu jaya jaya. Tato yuddhaya yujusva naiv papam avapsasi. Krishna says that you remain equanimous, and that's what he called as yoga or karma yoga. And when you remain equanimous in every situation, he says you can fight. You will not become sinful. You will be killing, but you will not get the reaction for that. So that equanimity of the mind, which means detachment to the results and even to the action. You do it because this is
the right thing to do.
This is my dharma. Actually, another word for karma is dharma. And this is my dharma, like Kshatriya dharma, Brahmana dharma. So these are dharmas. Dharma means it is their karma. This is their duty. Karma also actually here means the prescribed duty. So you perform it because this is what is expected from you, and make this as an offering to Bhagavan. So then what will happen, that you became free from this karma theory. Otherwise everybody is bound. No matter who you are under the influence of law of karma. I give this example that just like no matter who you are, wherever you go, the law of gravity is working on you. Whether you believe in it or you don't believe in it. You are under the influence of law of gravitation.
Right.
So in the same way, whether you believe in law of karma or you don't believe, you are under its influence. So how you can get out of it, that is the science of karma yoga.
Now in some traditions, like in Christianity, they will say do good deeds.
Right.
Do good deeds because you may go to heaven. It will get you into heaven. But it is not the same thing as we are talking about.
No, it is not same, because doing good deeds will also give you a good bondage.
So you'll get results, but you'll be in bondage. So the ego that does the good deed is the ego that will also get the results.
So here the whole idea is to get out of the kartritva bhava, that I'm not the doer. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma kartahamiti manyate.
Doerless.
Yeah. So you perform activity without the sense of doership. And when you do that, then you become free from the karma.
So can we say there's a stage where the ego, which is contaminated with a lot of wrong desires and selfishness, first has to clean itself, and at that stage you're still in the path of action, because you're still doing things from the ego, but hopefully good things. And then the next stage is to surrender that and say, I'm actually doing this for the Lord. I'm doing it for Bhagavan. I'm doing it for all that I'm doing is for Bhagavan. I'm surrendering and giving up the results, the reward. And this will lead eventually to a state of something without a sense of doership. That is just happening. Do you think that's the...
Yeah, you see, everybody in the material world has certain desires.
Right.
And you cannot just ask people, okay, give up your desire, because they are very much attached to them. Everybody has some attachment, some goals in the mind, and they can't just let it go. So this karma yoga has been prescribed that, okay, you try to satisfy your desire, but in a controlled manner. That's why we have the 4 pursuits as dharma, artha, kama and moksha. So kama means satisfying your desires, but not in a just independent manner. Within the bounds of Shastra, you try to satisfy your desires. So this way you will not become very degraded, and then ultimately you try to do those actions as an offering to Bhagavan. So then gradually your heart will become purified. You will get this knowledge, because the beauty of Karma Yoga is that it leads to Jnana. Sarva karma khila parthe jnane parisamapyate. All this karma which you are performing, it will lead you to a realization. Jnana means it will lead you a proper vision, understanding, realization that what is actually happening. Really speaking, I cannot enjoy all these material objects. They are ultimately the source of suffering for me. So that's what makes you dispassionate, and then you have a choice. Either you can take to Jnana Yoga, or you can actually continue Karma Yoga, but now you are dispassionate, you are detached to the results and actions.
So I think most people feel they can beat the system, that they can somehow, in the path of action, sort of beat the system in the sense of accumulating, satisfying desires without getting the harmful after effect. But the karma theory says you cannot do that.
It's not possible.
It is impossible. So sooner or later you're going to give up, and then the path of Karma Yoga starts.
Right.
So when you've given up the path of ordinary action to accumulate wealth and this and that and satisfy your desires, when you've given that up as something useless that you cannot ultimately achieve that goal, then you can start the path of Karma Yoga, which is to get out of this whole cycle.
Right. So that you have to utilize, you have to come to this realization that it is futile to search for happiness in these material pursuits. So when you come to that point, then you become really qualified to be a karma yogi, as Janaka he says, karmana visan siddhim asthita janakadaya. And this is what he was asking Arjuna to do, that you fight now, but don't just fight like an ordinary person, fight as a karma yogi. And by doing that, he will not be implicated in the outcome of this war.
So can we say that the path of action is where most people are stuck?
Right.
And beyond that is the Karma Yoga.
Yes.
So Karma Yoga is when you want to give up the path of action and follow a process which will get you out of it.
Right. And that is this is a very prescribed process. You have to understand. There are divisions of karma. There is a nitya karma, there is a naimittik karma, there is nisiddha karma. When you say path of action, everything is an action there.
Right.
So we have to understand this.
So this is to clarify why we should not translate Karma Yoga as path of action, but give it the special dignity, the special place it has within the Shastra.
Yeah, otherwise everybody says, oh, I am on the path of action, I am on the path of action. No, you have to study what is Karma Yoga.
Every politician says, I'm going to help you.
I'm a Karma Yogi.
I'm going to bring you water, and I'm going to give you this, that, vikas. So just bringing more vikas is not anything Karma Yoga.
No, it is not.
Even though you're helping other people.
Yes.
That's a good topic. Namaste.